Hi guys, it's Anne, and today's video is update number 9 for my Pan That Palette project for 2020. So how I'm doing this project is I am panning a particular palette, and I'm also doing like a monthly Shop My Stash where I pick a handful of palettes to use for that month. So in this video, I will review the palette that I'm panning, then we will review the palettes that we selected last month, and then I'll introduce the palettes that I've selected for the upcoming month. So let's get started. The palette that I'm working to pan is the NYX Warm Neutrals palette, and you'll see in the photo, I'll put the photo up on the screen, there's no new pans. This is, I think, the first month in a while that I've not had a new pan. I am really close on a couple shades, I can tell. I'm really close on this shade right here, and I'm really close on this shade right here. Last month I was very hopeful, being like, oh yeah, I can totally hit pan on at least every shade before the end of the year. That might have been an aggressive challenge. I've made a pretty good dent on this shade and this shade. This one's really hard packed. It feels like this one. Eventually it'll just like all of a sudden hit pan, like it starts to loosen as you're using it. But these three, and like this one and these three, real slow, real slow. I'm starting to use them now. Like I haven't really used them all year, so I mean, what can you expect? But I'm thinking now, I'm like, I basically have 3 months. I don't know. I'm gonna try. If I were a betting person, which I'm not a betting person, but if I were a betting person, definitely the odds are in favor of like 10 out of 12. I think there'll be 2 where it'll just be really hard. And the 2 that I think will be really hard will be these 2. Just because I know how hard it was to get to this one, and I'm kind of using this in a similar sense. And then this, it's a color I just don't use very regularly. I just don't see myself being able to hit that anytime soon. So anyway, so last month this palette was 98.10 grams. It's now 97.41 grams. That's a difference of 0.69 grams, which is, looking at this, my second best month. I feel like I was able to make progress on this because I've been using these 3 at the top as highlighter. So I have like a pointed brush, and I sort of like swirl it in all 3 and then use it. And it actually works pretty good as a highlighter. I've been debating actually depotting these and making them into a highlighter, but I don't know if that's necessary. And I still like to use them as eyeshadow, and I don't know. I feel like it might be a big process to do that. I'm thinking about it though. We'll see how the progress looks on these next month. If I feel like they're looking fairly similar, like it doesn't look like there's a lot of change in them, I might depot them and make them into a highlighter to finish them up. That is the update on the Pan the palette. Reviewing the other palettes that I selected, now I think I did a really good job in what I selected because I felt like I was able to use everything. The single that I picked was this loose shadow from Fiorne in Meerkat. That was in, if you watch my Get Ready With Me talking about holiday editions, you'll see this shade being used. I kind of wish I had just used this shade entirely and like really built it up to really show it off. But I also wanted to play with the Razzle Dazzle palette, so it was kind of like trade-off, right? And I really liked that look. I was actually really, really pleased with that look. So it's been fun this month to play with purples a bit more. It's a color that I've kind of moved away from, but I used to use a lot more, so I'm glad to like get back into it a little bit. These were all the single shadows I was using. These are hella old. If you watched my last update, you'll know that these are very old. They're Avon Mark. I don't know if that still exists. I have no clue what happens in the Avon world these days. These 3 are the Pure Nata ones that I'm testing out. So that review video is I was like, oh, it'll be like mid-late September. Yeah, that's gonna be October. It's just taking me a lot longer to really try the products. I wanna make sure I really give them a good go and have a good, well-informed opinion. And then this one I think is a ColourPop one. The other palette I picked was this Tarte Be You Naturally palette. I mean, it's a beautiful packaging. You can already tell where I'm going with this. It's beautiful packaging. It looks lovely. This is a palette I would consider decluttering, and I don't say that lightly. If anybody knows me, if you've been watching my videos for a while, I'm not a big declutterer. I try and buy things with the intention of like, it's what I want. This actually, though, I didn't pick out specifically. This came in a BoxyCharm, so again, it's so similar to other stuff that I have, and the quality of this is not like super exceptional that I'm like, well, yeah, it's similar shadows, but they perform so well, so it's worth hanging on to. The one shade that really throws me off is this pink, too. I was trying to use that today. So on my eyes today, I basically have all the 3 palettes that I just talked about because I was just kind of building up colors, and it looks like I have nothing on my eyes. I'm just playing with the colors and trying to build stuff up, and I started with this and I didn't like how it looked, so I tried using the mark shadows because I didn't really use them a whole lot. Actually, that's another thing I probably will decolor. At least one of those. The pink one is not great. So then I went in with the Pure Nada shadows and my Pan That Palette project. So again, here we are. So anyway, yeah, this palette just kind of, I don't know. I think I will declutter this, which, like I said, it's very rare for me to declutter a palette. Especially, like, the packaging of this is so pretty. Like, I'm tempted to, like, depot these and reuse this packaging. So I already touched upon this. This is the Too Faced Razzle Dazzle palette. Again, mostly gravitate towards using the pinks lately because that's just been where I'm at. So I purposely picked this so I could start using the purples. I did use that in that video, you'll see. Again, really like this palette. It's such a good palette. Like, every shade in here is actually really good. I would say, like, the only shadow that I really don't like is this one on the end. It's okay, but I mean, I guess because it's so light, you really have to work with that one. Like, it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of more of a, I would say it's like a good blending shade. So you would use it with other shadows to blend them. It doesn't really do anything on its own. Kind of thing. I hope I remember to take some pictures with this palette. I used this when I was home, and I might keep this out to take with me, again, just traveling back between the city and my home. So that's basically my COVID bubble until things, I shouldn't say that, unless things get locked down more, kind of like the way they were in like April, May, which I don't think they ever will get that locked down, where I didn't leave my house and I was all alone. Like, I didn't see anybody. So my bubble is like my immediate family, and so I go between my immediate family house and my place in Toronto, where again, I'm not really interacting with anybody in the city. I'm not going out or doing anything. So I'm trying to keep it as small as possible, but not like make myself crazy. Anyway, total tangent. This again I might hang on to it, keep it out, because it is some good fall colors too in there. And then the last one, this wasn't technically one that I picked, but because I just bought it, I was playing with it. I'm not gonna lie, I think I used it maybe once since I filmed my last Pan That Palette update. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk quad. It's a pretty quad. Again, I did this in a get ready with me. You can see, like, it's a really, really pretty quad. It's one of those things, like, it's so understated, but it creates such a pretty look. I think anybody can create a really pretty look with this. Way too freaking expensive for what it is, but it's nice. Okay, let's get into the October palettes. Again, you'll see a theme. So September, I felt like, was the light pinks and purples kind of cool tone theme. We're really like 180ing it this month and going for like warm tones. So the first palette, let's talk about this one. First palette that I want to use is this Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. I'm going to show you a close-up of this because it looks like so I'm showing you a close-up of this. It looks like I've never used this. I've definitely used this, but I'm like, I think there's some shades in here I'm not even sure if I swatched. I must have. I know myself. I would have swatched everything, but this looks like immaculate. I'm so disappointed in myself. I don't know why this is so untouched. So I'm definitely going to use this. I bought this in December last year. So I'm definitely going to use this month. I'm actually not going to show full swatches in this video because I'm going to, I think, do a dedicated video to this palette. Because again, I feel like, and I talk about this in some of my other videos, I feel like with a palette that I haven't really used, I need to build a relationship with it. So I need to use it multiple times. And by doing a video, it essentially forces me to really, really work at that relationship and see how I feel about this palette. I remember liking it, I think, for what I used, but like, that's the sad part. Like, I don't even remember. I'm like, I don't remember you at all. Like, I bought you. I kind of forgot that I bought this, to be honest. Keeping with the spice theme, I pulled this palette out again. I kind of just feel like this is definitely the fall palette to use. This is the Rimmel Magnif'eyes Spice Edition. I do have a relationship with this palette. I have used it quite a bit. I actually did a video on this comparing it to my NYX palette, which is my Pan That palette. So I'll post that link below to that video if you want to check it out. If I don't use this a whole lot, I won't be like totally disappointed, but I'm pulling it out to use it at least a few times, just to use it because I have it. I pulled out 3 singles to use, which I think will pair nicely with my Pan That palette as well as those 2 palettes. These 2 are Cleona shadows. This one in the middle is called Toadstool, so it's that brownish base with the green shift. And then this one is called Rune. And then the one on the side here is a MAC shadow called Oh My Mocha. It looks horrendous because I separated this out. It came in the case. I didn't mean to buy it in the case, but I bought it in the case. And so I separated it out, kind of destroyed it a little, but I barely used it. So I bought that one actually because I thought it's not even close. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be a good replacement for, I have a single from a Maybelline quad that I really love that color, but I have yet to find something that's exactly the same. And I might just rebuy I think the quad, they've rejigged it, but I think it still exists. And yeah, so I don't think I've used this maybe like twice in my life since I bought it. And I bought it like, I want to say 2017, 2018. So it must have been 2018 because I've only shopped in MAC once in my life. Those are the 3 singles. Again, I'm trying to keep things reined in a little. I pulled out this tiny little quad from that Color Workshop set that I got in December. I can't remember what I felt about this little one. And yeah, I want to just use it a couple times just to see what it's like. It looks like it will pair nicely with some of the other palettes. So we'll see how that goes. I've been impressed by these little quads. They're not bad. The packaging is really stupid. They're really hard to open. They're kind of fun to play with. Another thing that came from that set that I want to play with and see if I want to keep this or not, I have this one and a silver one. So this is the gold one, and it's just like an eye crayon from the Color Workshop. I want to see if this is worth keeping, if I can find a way to make it work that it's like, yeah, this will like, you know, change the game up every once in a while if I want to. Or is it wrecking everything and it needs to go? So we'll see how that goes. Again, that's just really to play with. And then lastly, I pulled out another one of these Stila Glitter and Glows. This one's in the shade Burnished Sienna. So it's more of like a orangey reddish. It's the deepest of the 3 in the little set that I got. So again, looks like a color that's going to pair really nicely with all the other shades that I picked out for eyeshadows. And lastly, I do want to talk about a face palette. Wow, you can see all the things. This is the Hourglass Volume 4 palette. So this is from 2018. Last year they had the Ghost palette. So this is, I talked about this again in a couple other videos that I wanted to pull this out because I feel like I barely use it. This shade I've used probably the most. It's kind of flat. The rest of them are still, actually, and the bronzer is looking a little used. I think because the bronzer it's a very light bronzer from what I remember. It didn't really have a whole lot of pigment, so you have to kind of, I feel like I have to build it up. So yeah, I want to make sure that I use this. It's preventing me from buying this year's palette. I'm also waffling on getting the 4-pan one. I talked about that in my Will I Buy It. The 4-pan one was one that I was interested in. I'm kind of like, do I really need it? I'm not really a face palette person. It would be convenient to have for travel. But I already have things like this. I already have other stuff. It's not like I'm traveling really anywhere other than between home and home. So that's it. That's my update number 9 for my Pan That palette in 2020. Oh my gosh, we only have 3 more months in this project and then it'll be done. I'm actually really happy with my progress on that NYX palette, but I'm not gonna lie, my brain is already mentally thinking about what am I doing next year? Like, you hit a certain point, if you're a project panner, you sort of hit a certain point where you've kind of gone through this experience this year and you're like, okay, what's next? What kind of project, or how can I make this more interesting for the next cycle? So my brain is, I gotta focus on the now and stop thinking about that. I mean, it's fine to think about it a little bit, but I really gotta focus on the Pan That palette and get through it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, feel free to give it the little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my tiny little channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you're doing well, stay safe, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.